Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Angus and Wagyu steaks. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all, those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had, and probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. All right, a big welcome in everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast. That would be including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the 49ers, home of the New York Yankees, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome into everybody else up and down the West Coast on all of our independents throughout the Midwest, all the way down to Auburn, Alabama, WAUD, home of the Atlanta Braves. Thanks for joining us on 1230 a.m. over there. And also 99.1 FM in Atlanta, WDJY. Thanks for joining us also on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, WOW Cable, and independent affiliates in select markets, Hotel TV in about 500,000 rooms, plus everybody streaming on pick your favorite streaming platform. We are here with a very special guest. In fact, let's let him introduce himself.
Hey, Sal, great to be here. Chad Beebe here, retired NFL wide receiver, and just moving into the entrepreneurial world.
All right, Chad. Well, you know, we had your dad on a couple of times too. And what I love is the fact that you are not wearing, and you did not wear that awful green and yellow or gold or whatever the heck. Thank God for that. I'd rather have you see that purple and white instead, purple and yellow.
Yeah, come on now. I have to admit though, when I was a young kid, in the stands, wearing the green and gold and whatever, Lambeau Leap, the whole nine. But happily a retired Vikings player, and one thing I'll always remember is putting my dad in a box. We were playing in Lambeau, put my dad in a box wearing a Vikings jersey, and not only was it he in a box at the stadium, but he was in a Packers box nonetheless, so, he was given a little bit of flack, but he told me it's blood before anything else, so...
Yeah. Hey, listen, man, I feel the same way. And, the funny thing is, look, it's just work. At the end of the day, you've got people that are wearing this color and that color. But, Chad, all you're trying to do is make a living, doing what you love doing. And maybe you're wearing the colors that you didn't root for as a kid. But end of day, it's just work, is it not?
That's true. It is. And I'll be honest with you. Yes, it's work, and it brings home a paycheck and provides for family, but you're playing a child's game. I don't know if you can consider it, real work. I'm learning what that all is right now after being, now done playing the game. Sometimes I think guys take it for granted how incredible it is and an opportunity that it is to play a game for a living. So.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree, and I think, look, 100 years ago I used to play baseball, and it was the same thing, and somebody asked me, well, how come you don't wear your old hat? I'm like, why am I going to wear my work clothes out when I no longer work there anymore?
It's true. Yeah, you don't see me wearing a helmet walking around.
That might be a little bit funny if you know what I mean, but...
They would be like, man, CTE for sure, right?
I know, but the good news is, look, you had a taste of it, you had fun with it, your career was cut a little early. I know that one. I've seen that movie. It's not a good movie, but there is life after sports, even though we still go and root our friends on. I still have family that's playing in Major League Baseball today, and it drives me crazy when I see somebody dragging their feet on the field when you know damn well you should be out there hustling like it's your last play, your last opportunity every moment, because you never know when your last play is going to be.
That's right. No, you're right. That's why I'll never forget. It was going into my 4th year. It was the last preseason game that year. This would have been 2021. And right before regular season, get tackled going out of bounds, is late hit, rolled up on, long story short, major surgery, puts me out the rest of the year, and I ended up getting a brief opportunity with the Houston Texans, but that didn't translate to anything, so really that was my final play. And that was the last thing I was thinking about at that point. I was already looking into the future, into that season, what it was going to, bring, and just like that, it just takes one play.
That's all it takes. And, you want to root your friends on. I know you still have friends that are playing today, and you wish the best, but at the same time, it's a little bittersweet when you see them doing a celebration or whatever the heck it is. We're going to get into that in a minute. When you see people doing well and you want to be a part of the rodeo, but you can't be because you're no longer on the field. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I think at the end of the day, when I played tackle football since I was 8 years old. You know what I mean? Like no matter how you slice it, it becomes part of who you are, almost like an identity, And then when that all comes crashing down, and that's over with, you really start to reflect. And not only that, but it was for a year, or so after being done, it was hard to actually watch football because I so much wanted to still play. And so, to your point, I totally couldn't agree more. It's difficult, but at the same time, knowing how hard you have to work to actually achieve that and to continue to play at that high level, I cheer all those guys on, man. As much as I want to be out there, I'm stoked that they're still out there, and wish nothing but the best for all of them and a long career.
Yeah, and you keep your friends, you keep the relationships, and they never forget. It's kind of like knowing your old high school coach, your own grade school friends and stuff like that. Look, where I'm from, same kind of area your dad's from Chicagoland, it's just what we did. We always played tackle football. We played whatever the season was, we played that sport.
Right.
And so, in springtime, maybe it was a little bit of baseball. How about wiffle ball, right? And I love wiffle ball. Yes.
Yeah.
But the idea is once the career is over, for me, I had to go back to school for a decade and try to figure out what the heck I wanted to do when I grew up. And frankly, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up. But still...
You say that. I've been saying the same thing ever since being done with football. I keep telling everybody, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up.
Chad, you're not... And listen, that's not going to change. Because as soon as you figure it out, what you want to do, it's almost like the game is over. Because part of the fun is trying to figure out what you want to do.
I've never thought about it that way, but that's very much true. I agree. It's the climb. The climb, even though it's a grind, it's fun.
It really is. Go ahead.
So, I was just going to say that's kind of why I've enjoyed, the entrepreneurial route, instead of just going and finding a job, being able to just problem solve and figure out what's next and, how to provide for my family and what am I passionate about outside of football and just different things like that. It's very unique, but your eyes are wide open when you enter that world. You're not playing the game you love anymore. You're really figuring out how the world works.
Right. And when there's a dollar involved, what I found interesting, back 100 years ago when I played baseball, we didn't get paid hardly anything, but I said, you know what, Chad, I'm getting paid to play a kid's game. It's like $1,200 a month, and it might as well have been $1 million because I'm doing what I want to do in the first place.
Yeah.
And today, look, the contracts are the contracts, but as long as you can keep your head in the right place and not be envious, maybe your teammate makes $100 million, whatever that means. Who cares? The fact is you're still on the field together, you're still doing it. And then when you can't do it anymore, all you could do is, as a mature guy, root them on to victory and hope that they win and not be jealous, but be supportive. And I think a lot of families have that problem where there's kind of the sibling rivalry and maybe, well, you know, I could do that better than they can. Yeah, well, guess what? You're not doing it. They're doing it.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting you say that, because I've even seen it, even though I'm, you know, about to be 31 years old, you know, I'd consider myself still young in the sense, in that sense, but just almost, you know, sometimes you get parents that live vicariously through their kids, you know, and I've worked with athletes and stuff like that at various levels and stuff, and sometimes you see that, you know, like they want to have their kid be so successful because maybe they didn't make it, or you know, it's an interesting dynamic there. So
it is here in our last 30 seconds of the segment. Look, I can relate to that, and as I have family that's playing in the bigs today, and all I can do is I can root for them and say, all right, good. And the one thing I don't do is I never ever ask them, for example, to come on air. I'll wait till the career is over and they're relaxed back in their position, back at home, and then they can reflect on it, because otherwise there's already media pressure, which you certainly know about. But then when you take media pressure and family pressure on top of it, it's undue pressure that nobody really wants to deal with, right or wrong.
Oh, that's right. And that's why you'll see a lot of guys who get done playing pro sports and they actually end up, some of them, broke.
Yes. All right, folks, we're going to be back here with Chad Beebe, and former Minnesota Vikings guy. I can say that because I don't mind. And everybody watching me on television right now, you see that I have a Vikings helmet right over my shoulder. Of course, he has his jersey right over his shoulder as well. Back here on the Circus in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come. Attention business owners. You and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes, are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's the College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com. Make sure you go over there and check them out, folks. All right, a big welcome back to everybody on radio and TV. You know who you are, and that is across these United States of America. Also, a big welcome in to everybody on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Check out that group, Chicago Food Favorites, a fun group of pick your favorite restaurants, recipes, favorite foods, whatever. And you don't have to be in Chicagoland to participate. This was started a couple of years ago. We're up to, actually about a year and a half ago, and we're up to about 2,300 people that are in there already. And guess what? They're all having fun. In fact, it stretches, of course, everywhere Facebook goes. And so, therefore, that's for all corners of the earth for all you flat earthers out there. All right. All right. Welcome back. We're here with Chad Beebe, and Chad spent some time with the Minnesota Vikings, I think about 4 years. And if you're watching on television, you can see that jersey right over his shoulder, and you can see that Minnesota Vikings hat right over my shoulder as well. Chad, welcome back.
Hey, Sal. Good to be here.
You know what? It's great to be alive, isn't it?
That's right.
Great
That's right.
Great to be alive. Okay, so, 4 years in the league, and you had some great experiences. And since we did mention food, and for all of our friends on Chicago Food Favorites, what stadium had the best food? Not city, but what stadium had the best food?
Oh my gosh. Well, that's hard to answer.
Come on, man.
Well, we didn't eat at the stadium. You know what I mean? However, you know, when we would travel. Sometimes we'd get a bite out to eat, depending on where we're at, what city, and whatnot. So we're always trying to hit a good steakhouse. But I got to be honest with you, we live in Nashville now, and the best steak that I've had out would be Cane Prime down here. Cane Prime's a steakhouse down here that we've fallen in love with. So I know that doesn't really answer your question, but if we're talking food, that's
okay.
That's where I took it.
All right, well, that's fair because you're not eating in the stadiums. I get it. And this is more for the fans. They probably want to know something like that. But me personally, I know city to city, every place has its own hot spot. And for me, I love the hot chicken that Nashville has to offer. There's a whole bunch of knockoff places all over the country. And to me, I'm like, yes, I love hot chicken.
Well, let me say this, and I'm probably biased, right, because I played in Minnesota for 4 years, but that's a stadium, first of all, that you got to get to. I don't care what team you're a fan of. The experience of U.S. Bank is top-notch. And if you're going to get food, make your way up to the North Loop down there in downtown. You'll find, great foods everywhere around there. So it's just something you got to do. If you're a football fan, you got to make it happen. I actually think it was voted best stadium. Was it last year or the year before? Maybe just the last 2 years. But regardless, I'm talking too much.
No, you're not talking too much. Thank you for actually talking, because some people get on there like, well, I don't really know what to say. But when I went to Minneapolis I go to the Ditka Jaws Cigars with the Stars events. And so I was up there in Minneapolis for the one when they had the Super Bowl up there, and it was Philadelphia and whoever. Philadelphia ended up winning. I forget. But I guess my point is I go to those events, and, of course, we get all the great foods. And that place we went to, we had it at was, I want to say it was at the Mechanics. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it does. In Minneapolis?
Yeah.
Or was it the Machine Shop?
Machine Shop. That's what it was. A Machine Shop. Mechanics, Machine Shop. I don't know. My brother's a mechanic. Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of spots around there. That's good stuff.
Yeah, but of course, it was just one of those really cool events. And when I got off the airport, of course, I came from right here in Las Vegas, and I think it was -6 or -10 or something. And I grew up in cold weather anyway, so I walk off the plane wearing shorts and flip-flops, and I'm walking through Minneapolis, staying at my hotel around town with shorts and flip-flops on, and people are like, what the hell's the matter with this guy? And I'm like, well, first of all, I got blood like motor oil. I can handle this. But I'm not stupid. I didn't stay out too long.
You're from Alaska. Or are you North Canada?
Right. It's Indian summer when it's 0 degrees, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's called thick skin. They should have looked at you like, oh, this guy fits in. That's what should have happened.
Well, that's what they should have. I think because I was around so many tourists, I don't know. But those events, have you ever been to any of those events from Ditka and Jaws?
I have not. Only heard of them.
Right.
I have not.
So one of our partners, I do the red carpet coverage for them most years. I didn't go in a previous one. We don't want to timestamp this because we want to be able to play it again, right? So I went to a previous event, and actually I've been to a lot of them. I didn't go to the past one, but what I will say is the Gridiron Greats Assistance Fund is a wonderful organization to help out a lot of those players that were like pre-93 collective bargaining, and they didn't really make a bunch of money. They had to rely on the extra job and so forth. So they raise money for them for their medical and dental and insurance and all kinds of great stuff. And then Ron Jaworski's Jaws Youth Playbook is to help the at-risk youth. And Ron Jaworski is just a super, super guy. And he does a lot for the community. Of course, they always deserve a nice round of applause from the sports circus. They're just cool people. And I don't mind giving back the time and effort because the causes are great. You're going to have to go to the next one coming up. I'll send you all the information offline here.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. And you'll see probably a lot of guys you know anyway, because I'm sure you keep in touch with a pretty fair amount of guys since you're not far removed from the game itself.
Yeah, I try to. I mean, obviously during the season, I pretty much kind of stay away. I know how busy guys get, but even when I see maybe one of them, have a good game, I'll shoot them a congratulations, on the game and whatnot. But yeah, no, I still stay in touch with some of those guys. I think it's good too. You build a brotherhood. When you're playing a game like that, and you spend a lot of time together, so it just comes with it.
A little blood, sweat, and tears. Listen, folks, if you think it's easy to do what Chad has done, by the way, we're here with Chad Beebe, played about 4 years with the Minnesota Vikings, and also had another cup of coffee with the Houston Texans. But guess what? It's hard. First of all, it's hard to make it. It's even harder to stick around, is it not?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I could tell you the story. I mean, for me, I spent a lot of my college career injured. I didn't have a whole lot of stats because I didn't see the field a whole lot because I was either recovering from an injury or whatever the case may be. And I ended up getting an opportunity as a minicamp invite, which a lot of people don't understand what that is. But basically, you're just invited in as an invite guy to the rookie minicamp, which is how every NFL team kicks off their offseason, their spring, like OTAs and stuff like that. Well, it starts with a rookie minicamp where they bring in all their draft picks, they're already signed free agents, and then they invite anywhere from, I think, 20 to 35 rookie minicamp invites. Well, I was one of the invite guys, and you're basically just bottom of the barrel. You're there for an extra body for their drafted quarterbacks to throw to. And long story short, this is how cutthroat it is. I went from a nobody to, on the third day, the last day of the rookie minicamp, back in April of 2018 or whatever it was, to the head coach Mike Zimmer follow me around during that last practice, and the GM follow me around that last practice, and they signed me as a free agent coming out of that minicamp. But to do so, they had to cut the priority free agent that year. He was a wideout out of Texas, and they cut him and then signed me. I mean, that's how cutthroat it is, So, I could go into stories on what I had to do to quote unquote get there and the hard work it takes. I mean, it does. It takes a lot of hard work, and sometimes it takes a few breaks too. Things got to kind of roll your way. You got to get in front of the right eyes at the right time. And I don't consider that luck. I'm a man of faith. I believe truly that God's got it. You end up where you're meant to be, and He brings all things to for the good of those who love Him. And for me, that was evident in my life, and on that weekend too. This is the best weekend I've ever played football, and because of that, I was able to then turn it into a 4-year career where I still battled injuries, had 2 major ankle surgeries, and that last one kind of knocked me out, and I wasn't really, arguably the same anymore. At least teams weren't willing to give me another opportunity because of the rap sheet of injuries, and so it ended rather quickly in Houston. But you make a good point. It's not an easy thing, but I'm just thankful and fortunate enough to have spent, more than the average career in the NFL. So,
right, it's harder to stick around once you've made it. I mean, look, it's a very tough climb to pro sports when you make the top, but to stick around. I mean, think about the idea of all those people in our last 30 seconds here of the segment. Think of the idea of, look, there are thousands and thousands of people that have great skill. Right place, right time, God's plan. It has nothing to do with anything. Luck isn't involved. There is a destiny aspect to this. Now, take this, folks, in your estimation, however you look at it. But look, we're passengers on this bus. We're not controlling the bus. Take 10 seconds. Tell me your thoughts on that.
Well, they say, real quick, it's 1% of high school athletes get a scholarship to go play college football, and then it's 1% of them that actually get an opportunity to play in the NFL, right? I mean, we're talking a few thousand out of hundreds of thousands of kids,
Yeah, that's it. I tell you what, folks, we're going to be back here with Chad Beebe in just a few minutes here on the Sports Circus. Hopefully you're having fun with us, and who knows where we're going to go when we come back, so make sure you stick around, have some fun with us. Back in a few. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello Americans, it's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time, that's 800-950-2049.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, which can be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, iHeart, Stitcher, Deezer, you name it, we're there. You can't get away from us. Also, make sure you check out the sportscircus.com's partners page. Lots of great partners. One of those happens to be Al's #1 Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. That's Al's #1 Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. And if you can't get over there and try one of those great Italian beef sandwiches, yes, I said sandwich, not sandwich, if you know what I mean. Make sure that you check them out at alsbeef.com. That's alsbeef.com. They are the originators. Over 100 years ago, they put together this incredible sandwich. And guess what, folks? It's still a fan favorite, a citywide favorite, and a worldwide favorite. And way better than that blasted Philly cheesesteak sandwich, if you know what I mean. All right. Welcome back to everybody. You know you are TV, radio. We are back here with Chad Beebe, 4 years in the NFL, Minnesota Vikings. And Chad and I are talking about whichever way the wind blows us today. We never know. And we left off staying on top and getting to the game and maintaining yourself and injuries. Do you think, Chad, if, I don't know, maybe some time passed, maybe time heals a little bit of wound and maybe you might get past and get another shot if you really wanted one?
Oh gosh, I don't think I can even open up that can of worms, to be honest with you. When when I was let go of Houston, I wanted to think that I was the same player and stuff like that, but that one was like a shot in the leg. I'm gonna be honest with you. I wasn't one expecting it, and then two, it was like a big, deep, or big gulp of reality. Like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's next. And I spent a whole year. We were talking to multiple teams. My agent, Mike McCartney, and I, we were, going back and forth, and we thought, an opportunity was gonna come, but that roller coaster, the up and down, quote unquote, circus, no pun intended.
No, come on.
It was like, holy smokes, and it takes a toll on you, emotionally, and I, my beautiful wife and our daughter at the time too. It just, I don't know if I can open that can of worms. Now, if somebody offered me a contract right off the jump, I'd go play.
What about in Canada? What about the Canadian League, for example?
We had those conversations. I just couldn't see myself doing it. The biggest part is, if I was a single guy just living my life, and I'd consider it maybe, but to take a family up to Canada or flirt with any other league at this point, it wouldn't make sense. And it's not for the lack of the love of the game. It's not at all. But to put my body on the line, I'd rather put it back on the line on the big stage than trying to work my way back up, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. Now, I have to bring it up because people probably ask these questions. Well, hey, what about this and what about that? I mean, look, folks, if you don't know, when you're done playing a game, psychologically, when you're done, you're done. When you think that you've hit a wall, I tore a rotor cuff, and that was the end of it. Because back then, in those days, we didn't have they had rabbit ears on TVs back in those days. And so in today's time, it's a little bit easier to get repaired, but not back then. And so I had to figure it out, man.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing, I after Houston, I was still grinding, and we were making phone calls, and I was trying to get workouts, and we're trying to make it work, And after a year doing that, it's just like, well, God must have something better in store, and so we kind of pulled the trigger on retiring September 1st of, gosh, what would that have been? 2023. So we're over 2 years now, quote unquote, retired, but
thereabouts. So think about this. Maybe you were supposed to become an NFL correspondent for the Sports Circus, huh? Hey! You can interview all your friends and have fun with it, and maybe Company XYZ will throw a bunch of money at you for doing a segment. Hey, this segment brought to you in part by Chad Beebe. And of course, Chad is brought to you in part by X Company, whatever that means. I don't know. But my point is, look, we have had people, former athletes, start on this show, and we've seen the people start on this show end up on television, end up doing radio, and it's like, hey, hey, that guy started with me, one of those kind of things. So you never know. Look, I wasn't even anticipating doing this. And if it wasn't for my good buddy Jim Everett, I would never be doing this in the first place. You remember Jim back in the day as a quarterback with the Rams, Chargers, and Saints, right? And so it's Jim's fault that I'm doing this in the first place.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's the funny part about it. You just never know who you're going to meet. And what I was told actually after I was done is just be a yes man. Say yes to everything. You know, if someone wants to go grab a coffee, yeah.
Right.
You want to have this conversation? You want to meet? Of course. You know, like let's talk about. You know, if anything, just get to know you and hear your story. And I think that in and of itself is beneficial. But I've done so much networking after I've finished up and retired, even more so than I did even while playing. And you know, I'm more of an introverted type of guy, if I'm being honest. And so for me, it was definitely stepping out of my comfort zone to do things like that. But it's been more than rewarding, and it has helped shape me and the man I am now, even just after 2 or so years after being done playing the game. But yeah, I couldn't agree more. You just never know who you're going to meet and what that leads to. You know?
I have to say, this whole thing happened in the weirdest way for me to be doing what I'm doing. And buddy, I'm just drinking the Kool-Aid, just living the dream, whatever that means, right? You always hear, I'm just living the dream. Well, maybe that's the case. This whole program today and all the other programs I do, they're unscripted. I think for the first year or so, I used to really make out a really detailed list of what I was going to cover and this and that. And I was always worried about dead air. Like that. There's dead air. So, right, it's that silence. Well, what's going on? Listen, folks, it's okay. Just whatever you do, don't and like and, through your way of conversation, because the public knows you're grasping. You're sitting in a meeting, a business meeting as an entrepreneur. And the last thing you want to do is speak ahead of your brain, because you'll be stuck in those but people will know that you're not ready for that meeting. And this is a good lesson for all you people listening on all these business channels as well. You're listening to talk radio. Listen, whether it's talk, music, sports channels, television, whatever, you really have to grab the audience and hold the audience. If you don't hold the audience, they're going to know that you're not ready. Think about it, Chad. As a wideout, everybody in the stadium would know maybe you dropped the ball, whatever the case. And then you drop the next one. Then you drop the next one. And then the fans say, no, don't throw it to this guy because he's not going to catch it anyway. And then you have an 80-yard reception for a touchdown or something like that. You're only as good as your last performance, right or wrong?
No, that's true. That's true. Well, here, let me tell you the story. That jersey right there, right? So there was a Carolina game back in, oh my gosh, what was it, 2020, I believe, and needed to win the game, right, to even have a chance to make the playoffs. And there was about 2 minutes or so left, and we were getting punted the ball, so we were going to have the opportunity. We were down 4 points, or what was it, 3 points? I can't even remember, to be honest with you. But they punted us the ball. I was the punt returner at the time, and dropped it and muffed the punt. They ended up recovering it. Thank God, our defense stopped them to a field goal. And but my point in saying that is, at that very point, I can't even tell you, what some of the fans that were probably saying. I mean, I could go on my Twitter feed and tell you what they were saying.
Right.
And then it was so they kicked field goal, made it. Carolina kicked off to us. We retrieved the ball back, so we had about 1:20 left still, and we had an opportunity, and that was all we wanted. You know what I mean? At least for me. It took about 30 seconds to just pick myself up a little bit, and thank God I had some good teammates to help in that regard, and caught a couple balls down the stretch, and then ended up catching the game-winning touchdown with that jersey right there. But you talk about a full turnaround. You know what I mean? You go from I guess GOAT to like hero. You know what I mean? Just like laying an egg to being able to catch the game winner. But luckily, the faith of my teammates still, where even in my quarterback, Kirk Cousins, had the faith to still throw me that ball to go game, but if I would have ended the game that way with the muffed punt, I may have never saw the field again.
Right.
So to your point, right? But I had another opportunity, thank God for it, and caught the game winner, and that actually helped me long term, and actually after that season allowed me to sign another contract with the Minnesota Vikings. Signed a 1-year deal after that, and so to your point, I think that it would be correct. I think that there's a truth to that you're only as good as your last performance, good or bad.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the case. And look, from segment to segment, as we go through the thousands of shows we've done, sometimes we have really good segments. Sometimes they're not as good. I won't say they're terrible, but sometimes you're like looking at your watch, saying, oh, we're still doing this. And I've had people on the show closing the segment out. I've had people on the show that 30 seconds and 1 minute in, I'm literally trying to physically not slit my wrist, but it's like, oh, please make this stop. And I have to say that you have to tough your way through these discussions. This one, we don't have to. Folks, we're going to be back here with Chad Beebe in just a few moments, folks. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA. The only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Thank you, Brian, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for upcoming guests, prior guests, recorded shows, which can be found on all streaming platforms. Also, make sure you check out across the top of the page, there's a tab that says Store, a shameless plug for the Sports Circus. Lots of great American-made products with embroidered logos from the Sports Circus, hats, t-shirts, coats, sweatpants, you name it, they're there. Check it out at thesportscircus.com. All right, back here with Chad Beebe, and welcome back, by the way, to everybody on Chicago Food Favorites and everywhere else. Back here with Chad Beebe, 4 years with the Minnesota Vikings, and a pretty cool guy that's got a pretty good outlook on stuff, pretty good outlook on life, a good family guy, comes from a good guy, the family's, it's really good. Folks, if you don't know about Chad or his father, Don, I mean, look, these are good humans. And his dad's a good business guy. Chad, what about you? You're kind of venturing now into the entrepreneurial world. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Oh, man, yeah, that's a loaded question. A lot of different nuances going on right now, to be honest with you. I guess I'd start out by talking about 4x4 Fitness. So I actually, after moving down to the Nashville area, we've been living here for almost 3 years now, just wanted to get implemented into the fitness world down here in some sort of way. And so after doing some research, found this company and called 4x4 Fitness. And we ended up, long story short, investing into this company. And it's mobile fitness. I had never heard of this type of model before as far as fitness goes until I had moved down here and researched it and found it. And the concept is really cool in my mind. But basically, we have trainers that, you know, they're given all of the dumbbells, bench, you know, slam balls, ropes. I mean, everything that you need to get a great workout. They come to your home and put you through a great workout. So it's very much like concierge service. They show up, put you through the whole 9 yards, writes you up a program and gets you in shape. And I love the concept from the get-go. And so that's one thing we're kind of dipping our toes in. You know, another one is when you play in the NFL, you have a lot of people kind of confront you about certain I should say just like investments and whatnot, and say, hey, put your money here, put your money there, and do this, do that, and all these things. And well, I kind of, you know, fell into a bit of a trap and made some bad investments. And to not go into too much detail there, what it really ended up helping me do is, one, learn some really hard lessons, but two, want to actually find a good avenue for legitimate investments and not just for myself, but for others too. You know, guys that, you know, athletes, but for anybody, because I think that there's a lot of bad out there, and even myself, you know, getting wrapped up in a Ponzi scheme and stuff like that. You know, things can go sideways pretty quick, and it's really hard to trust people. So I've gotten, you know, connected with it's like a private investor club basically, and can't go into too much detail right now because we're just in the middle of still building it all out. But it's a pretty cool thing that we're putting together, and you know, sourcing deals from all over the world, specifically from large investment banks. You know, deal flow from like private equity, private credit, asset-backed loans, PO financing, sport team ownership, and different things like that. So it's really cool. We're you know, trying to roll out here really in the next like week or two. And then, gosh, I mean, on top of that, you know, some different things going on. I mean, I'm wearing this hat right here, Resilience Revival. This is more so like I hope to make it maybe a nonprofit one day where it's just helping young athletes really build a sense of mental toughness on and off the field. Because I truly believe like mental toughness is a choice that you can make, that eventually, while you make that choice over and over and over again over a period of time, you become a resilient young man or young woman, whatever the case may be. But if we succumb to our circumstances, then life can swallow you up really quick. And so that's just something that is dear to my heart because it was something that I felt like I dealt with from a mental standpoint, but from a physical standpoint too. With a lot of injuries, there were so many times where I felt like quitting. But praise God I didn't, and I had a great family support that helped. And if I had quit, I wouldn't have been able to say that I had a career in the NFL, even though it was cut short. I was fortunate enough to still live that childhood dream, and that was because I didn't quit. So that's just like a snippet. I know there's some more things going on, but those are the things that come to mind right now.
Look, it's hard to dive into something that maybe you're not seemingly psychologically ready for, but you almost have to do it. Like in your case, you have a wife, you have a child, etc., and you have to look out for the greater good of the family. But you also have to tread lightly, because if you don't make the right move, look, I've seen this movie just like you. And so for me, it just happened at a lot younger age where I had to get out. And so I, again, went back to school for a whole bunch of years and learned a bunch of stuff, whatever. But I've applied it. And just like yourself, now you have a great network. What you were mentioning earlier with the investment scenario with the group and so forth, I've been involved with one that deals largely with the NBA and some NFL guys. I've done that for about 10 years. And I've seen when I walk in the room, there's $2 billion in the room, and people are looking at safe places to invest it so they don't get burnt in these ridiculous schemes or whatnot. So I've been a part of that. And I have to say that a lot of people don't realize that the athletes largely, and I won't say all of them, I say a lot of them are pushed towards buying fast food franchises and this kind of thing because they offer technically some kind of a rate of return that seems to be at least parallel to what they could get in other like kind investments. But folks, there are many other investments out there, in my opinion, that are a lot more significant, a lot stronger. Hell, I could tell you about them from the government side that can give you a guaranteed 18% per year, per annum. And it's government, right? It's not a private entity. And so people don't know about that. I used to speak at seminars about this as well. So I've seen this movie, and there are a lot of good paths for you and for the former players and whatnot and their families and so forth. There are places to put money that are very safe, but you have to open your mind to the possibilities of what those could be. And they're not always right in front of you, but sometimes they're right in front of your nose and you don't even see them.
That's right. No, it's true. And that's why what we were kind of talking about earlier is you actually you got to ask around. You got to create relationships. I mean, that's how I basically started this whole thing with this, private investors club. And I can't say that I started it, but got implemented into it and access to it now. Was because of just building relationships, and talking to people, and then that trust is built over time. But I will say I don't like to be like a negative Nancy by any means, but there's a lot of bad out there too. And for all my fellow athletes, because there's seemingly just a little bit more of a microscope on these guys and gals, and there's an assumption that you have a lot of money in your pocket, so you're targeted, and so there's all these options that are thrown at you as potential investments, and some look great, and then you bite the hook on something, and then all of a sudden, it goes well for 3 to 4, 5, 6 months or whatever it is, and then the carpet's ripped out from underneath you, and there goes everything, and you're just confused, and then trust and all that just kind of goes out the door. So what you're saying, Sal, is spot on. I think once you find a good thing, you stick with it, and to find a good thing, you got to ask around and do your due diligence. But I just got to say it. I mean, if anybody is interested in something like this, reach out.
And how does everybody get in touch with you? How do they follow you?
Yeah, Instagram's the best way, to be honest with you. I'm not a huge fan of social media, the Twitter world. Just playing in the NFL, I had to delete it. There's not a lot of great things that go on there, but I do have Instagram, ChadBB12, @ChadBB12, and always available that way. Obviously for a follow and a follow back, but more so a message and any sort of curiosity with fitness or this private investor club. So, yeah, thanks, Al.
Yeah, you'll have more information on that private investor club as you develop it. So you're sort of in the early stage right now, and you'll make that information available on your social media when the time is right, correct?
Yeah, it should be there. At minimum, it is going to be, a private investor club. Now, are we telling people about it? Of course. But accredited investors, there's going to be certain guidelines. So not everybody's going to be included in something like this, but more than happy to have a conversation. So.
Right. Got to make sure that you follow the rules of the Securities Exchange Commission and FINRA, of course, because you don't want to be selling unregistered securities, because that's a big fat no-no, if you know what I mean. But generally speaking, I know you're going to do the right thing because you're a good guy. That's what you do, and you're going to follow the rules because you know what it's like to participate in something when somebody allegedly was following the rules, but they don't necessarily do that. Now, do they?
No, they don't. And that's part of the due diligence part, and to be honest with you, the quote-unquote, mistakes that I've made, I would have to say is on me. In the sense of not being fully diligent. Now there's times where you can just have the wool, pulled over your eyes, and everything checks out, seemingly does, and then things change, and I do believe that people change. And some things you just don't know, and then until it happens, and you just gotta learn from it and move on. So that's just part of life, that's the whole part of building resilience, you know what I mean? So,
yeah. You got to have that. So any final message here in our last minute of the show for everybody watching that just tuned in a little bit late? Any final message for them?
Absolutely. It's funny because this was preached to me all my life because my dad was kind of preaching the same thing, but my life just turned out to be the same story. You just never give up. If you're passionate about something, just because you run into a few obstacles, that's not an excuse to give up. Now, for me, if I ended up crippled, well, then I can't play football anymore. But even though I had the longest rap sheet, I had a broken foot, blew out my right knee, 3 broken collarbones, concussions, broken ribs, internal damage, lacerated kidney, liver damage. I busted both of my ankles, had major ankle surgery, shattered my left arm, 2 plates, 12 screws, and to be honest with you, the list goes on. And for me, I had every excuse to quit the game of football, but I didn't, and because of that, I was able to have a career in the NFL. Again, like I said, play the game, that childhood dream, of playing in the NFL. And I say that because you'll regret more not chasing after that dream than you would regret chasing after it and not achieving it.
Yeah,
because that one is always tough.
That's all good stuff. Hey, listen, folks, we're out of time here on the Sports Circus. A big thanks to Chad Beebe joining us today. Let's round of applause for Chad. Check him out on all the social media outlets. I'm your Ringmaster Sal. We're going to see you in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. So until then, for Chad Beebe, we'll see you next time. So long, everyone.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.